If this episode makes you think, please let us know in the comments and support us by subscribing and leaving a review. Thank you. Today we are exploring stories AI for student thinking, and one striking result. Students remembered an average of 83% when an AI questioned them, compared with 67% when it simply summarized material for them. That finding comes from when AI makes young people think for themselves, real learning happens. An opinion article by Ayisha Irfan, published by the 74 on August the 19th, 2026. Irfan is the founder and chief executive of Augmented Intelligence Advisory. She describes a one-week pilot with 22 newcomer students aged 11 to 17 at the Chicago headquarters of Forging Opportunities for Refugees in America, known as FORA. Many of these young people from countries including Afghanistan, Burma, Malaysia, and Syria were developing literacy after interrupted schooling. That context matters. These aren't students for whom a generic AI response, written in complex English and loaded with assumed background knowledge, will necessarily be useful. During the pilot, the students read short texts about how the brain works. On some days, Gemini summarized the reading. On others, it used a Socratic question and answer approach, asking students to reason rather than supplying an answer. Sometimes, students had to pose their own question and allow curiosity to steer the exchange. One teenager complained that Gemini was broken because it kept questioning her. She preferred ChatGPT, which she felt would answer more directly. Irfan had deliberately prompted Gemini to behave that way. Once the student saw the instructions, she understood that the friction was intentional. The following day, according to the article, she scored 100% on a quiz covering the previous day's reading. I found that little moment fascinating because it captures something we often misunderstand about educational technology. Convenience feels like effectiveness. Smoothness feels like progress. Yet learning frequently involves interruption. You retrieve an idea, test it, get stuck, reconsider, and try again. Remove all of that and the task may become easier, while the learning becomes thinner. The same-day quiz results barely differed between summarization and questioning. A day later, the gap appeared. 83% retention after the AI Socratic method against 67% after AI-generated summaries. More than 2/3 of the students also said the questioning version helped them learn more. That's promising, but we should be careful. This was a one-week pilot involving 22 students, described by the person who ran it in an opinion piece. The article doesn't report random assignment, statistical significance, or whether the reading passages were equally difficult. We don't know what happened after a week, a month, or outside this particular group. It's an interesting signal, not a settled verdict. Even so, the underlying mechanism is credible. Summarization can reduce the amount of mental work a learner performs. Questioning requires retrieval and explanation. The student has to do something with the information. The real value is not in what the machine produces, but in how the student responds. Think about a Year 8 geography lesson on migration. Students could ask ChatGPT or Gemini to summarize push and pull factors, copy the neat response, and feel finished. Or the AI could ask which factor appears strongest in this family's account and what evidence supports your judgment. It could challenge an assumption, request a counter-argument, and adjust its language for a multilingual learner. The technology is almost identical. The learning design is completely different. If you value this kind of practical analysis, follow or subscribe for more conversations about AI in education. The most revealing finding may not be the 16-point retention gap. Students' confidence in using AI rose sharply, but that confidence had almost no relationship with what they remembered. That's a serious warning for anyone measuring AI literacy in schools through self-reported confidence, usage figures, or student satisfaction. A dashboard might show that 90% of students opened an AI tool. A survey might tell you they enjoyed it. Neither establishes learning. Feeling fluent with a chatbot can mean little more than becoming skilled at obtaining a plausible response. For a department head planning professional development, this changes the emphasis. Don't spend the whole session demonstrating tool features. Give teachers one piece of content and compare two experiences. An instant summary and a carefully designed questioning dialogue. Then assess what they can explain later without the tool. AI literacy should include understanding how the machine shapes your attention, effort, and confidence. It's collaborative reasoning, not button pressing. Irfan also raises an equity problem. The students said they wanted AI to act as a thinking partner, but nobody had taught them how to make that happen. They struggled to get explanations suited to their age and language level. Students with technologically confident adults around them may learn how to request simpler wording, examples, questioning, and feedback. Others type a vague instruction and hope. That's where AI in refugee education could either narrow or widen gaps. Personalization doesn't occur merely because a company puts the word on a product page. The system needs usable instructions, suitable reading levels, language support, and careful teacher oversight. Accessibility has to be a foundation, not an optional setting hidden in a menu. School leaders should therefore examine what suppliers mean by engagement. Are students spending more time in the platform because they're thinking, or because they're navigating confusing responses? Does the product test delayed retention? Can teachers control whether it answers, prompts, or questions? What student data does it collect? The article's webpage includes notices about reCAPTCHA and the Google privacy policy, but a privacy link on a public website isn't a data governance model for schools. Procurement needs clearer answers about data storage, access, deletion, and accountability. Schools shouldn't send identifiable student information into Gemini, ChatGPT, or any other system without approved safeguards. At policy level, Irfan argues that districts are expected to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on AI education technology without clear evaluation criteria. My concern is that contracts reward visible activity, licenses activated, prompts submitted, tasks completed. Those numbers are easy to report. Delayed learning retention is harder to measure, but it's closer to the educational purpose. I'd want future research with larger groups, comparable texts, longer follow-up periods and different ages, subjects, and languages. I'd also want to know whether students eventually internalize the questioning process. Can they ask themselves those productive questions once the chatbot disappears? That would be far more valuable than permanent dependence on an AI tutor. This is the strongest idea in Ayisha Irfan's article. The tool should eventually make itself less necessary. AI for student thinking succeeds when students retain knowledge, recognize weak explanations, and continue reasoning independently. Don't measure what AI helped a student finish. Measure what the student can still think when AI is gone. That's all for today. Thanks for listening.